Hi there, I'm Angela. Welcome to the channel, or welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to share with you what I'm working on this week in my Zone 6A garden during this fourth and last week of April. If that sounds interesting, then please stay tuned. Not really too much has changed out here since my last week's video. It's been too cold to really do much out here, and it's definitely been too cold to get my tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants and so forth outside. It's really even been too cold to set them out during the day. Today is a pretty nice day, and I'm hoping that next week everything will be able to get moved outside. But what I am going to work on today, I bought 4 of these oak leaf hydrangeas. The variety is called Alice, last week, and I'm going to get those in the ground today, or at least get a good start on that. That's today's task. I might put it on a time lapse if you're interested in just watching me do that. It's not going to be any big deal. Just digging the right size hole, mixing in some compost that I purchased at the same nursery where I got the shrubs, and kind of backfilling the hole with the mix of the compost and the soil that I've pulled out of the hole. So let's get busy. So I got the first one in, and when I bought the shrubs, the guy at the nursery had told me that because here in the Midwest, and probably some of the Southeast too, we have very hard packed red clay soil. So he said to, when I dig out the hole, to mix some of the compost in with some of the clay soil and then backfill that around the plant. And that clay was so hard packed, there was no mixing anything with it. So I just kind of alternated sprinkling the compost along with putting some more of the clay back in, and kind of like that. So I hope that it does okay. It's amazing to me that anything can grow in this clay soil because it's so dense. So I'm hoping that these do well here. They do have a year guarantee, so we'll see. And I'm going to get the next one in, and then after that I have an errand to run. But I'm sure I'll be back out here at least through the weekend, so I'll catch up with you then. It's Sunday, April 30th, last day of April. I can't believe how the month just flew by, but I'm looking forward to May, definitely. We've had such cold weather this week. This is my first time I've been out in the garden since I was out here on Wednesday. So I'll show you what today's task is here in just a second. Today I'm going to be planting a perennial or two, and I'll show you what I've got. So what I'm working on today is over on the other side of the house, and I'll take you over there and show you. I've been working on this space for maybe I just started last year or the year before, slowly trying to clean up the areas that are right around the house. So we have this little stone wall here. That was here when we moved in, which we were very thankful for. So the area that I'm working on is here. And last year, it was really overgrown. So I got most of the weeds out, planted a couple of things, but as you can kind of see, grasses have kind of grown back up in there. I'll show you what I've planted so far. I forget the name of this. I'm sure I have the tag somewhere, but isn't that pretty? I think once it gets a little bit bigger, maybe next year or in the fall even, I'll try to divide it and kind of spread it out a little bit. And right there is a pink diamond hydrangea, and that'll get pretty big. It'll fill in like that whole space. And then the other thing that I've put here, see those little variegated viney things? I just pulled those from the other side over there, kind of dug some up because I think it looks really pretty. And ignore all the junk. It's a work in progress. So I'm hoping to get it planted all here along the top. This is the top of the wall right here, that maybe it'll spill over a little bit. So today's task is to plant another perennial that I picked up and maybe get some of these grasses out that have grown back up through. And what I've got for this space today is a purple rocket. This is a native plant and it does flower. If I recall, it gets like purpley flowers. I'll try to find a picture and put it into the video. So first I'm going to just try to pick out all of these weeds and grasses that have grown up, pull those up, and figure out the best spot for this. It'll get 1 to 2 feet tall by 1 to 2 feet wide or something like that. So I'm thinking maybe just right in here. In the past year or two, I've really tried to focus my landscaping efforts on planting native plants just to help the local insects, bees, butterflies, and everything like that, birds. I just feel like it's the right thing for me to do, especially because we have a little bit of space here. So that is what I am working on today. Got it planted. It doesn't look like too much right now. It looks kind of weedy, actually. I find that a lot of the wildflowers and native plants can kind of look weedy, but it'll fill out nicely, I think. And my goal for this whole area is just to get it totally filled in with maybe a couple more small shrubs, perennials, just to kind of fill it in so that it's like a mass of plants that look like a messy, wild sort of native garden that, you know, the insects will love. I don't often show this side of the house too much because my vegetable garden's like over on the other side, but there's my retaining wall bed that I have shown a few times, and that one's mostly perennials and shrubs too. Cars park over there, and the front of the house is way back there. So yeah, it'll be slow, but I think it'll get there. And the other plant that I picked up is also a native perennial called richweed. And if I remember correctly, this one prefers to be in sort of like a moist or like a wet soil, maybe along the edge of a pond or something. But I think I'm going to put it, this is a little gully right here. It might not look like it's like a depression much, but what it does is kind of receives water that flows through this pipe here. This pipe is buried under the stone path, and the end of it is there, so it just allows water to roll through, keeps it away from the house, which is right over there. So the water comes out through here, runs down around the greenhouses. Sorry about the focus. So the greenhouse is all the way down at the end there, and there's the vegetable garden. So when it rains heavy, the water flows through this little piping down and around, and it kind of curves around that way and feeds the pond, which is over there. So I don't really try to keep this area looking nice or landscape because of all like the water that comes through here so frequently when there's rain. And there's already a bunch of weeds, frankly, and some wildflowers and native plants. I don't know if you can see those little flowers there. I don't know what they are, but I'm sure they're probably native and good for the, you know, the insect population and birds and such. So I think I'm just going to find a place somewhere here to plant that, and it'll just end up looking like another one of the weeds here, but I know it's good for, you know, the land. So I got it in, and it doesn't look like much. I kind of kept the tag with it, so if Hubs comes around with the string trimmer, he'll know that it's intentional. Although I think I'm gonna just ask him to like leave this whole little gully area alone when he comes through doing maintenance. Try to make it into like a little natural habitat with, you know, native plants. And I went to a seminar lately, or a lecture, and they were talking about how much that the bees and bird population has decreased over the last 30 years. So I figured as long as we have a little bit of land here, that I'm going to try to do my part to plant native as much as I can. I mean, outside of the vegetable garden, of course. Not that I still won't buy, you know, some of the nice, beautiful cultivars and things, but I'm going to try to equally or more plant native plants where I can. And during the lecture, they talked about how, like, if you take a regular neighborhood or subdivision or something like that, and you have, like, at least if some of the houses spread out throughout the neighborhood have little islands of biodiversity, that it can be enough for the local insect, bird, butterfly population to survive. And it was kind of like hopeful, but kind of a little disheartening to think how many species we've lost, and not species, but just populations decreasing. I don't have the statistics and I can't remember them exactly, but it was like millions less birds that we have now in our country, in the United States, compared to, you know, 30 years ago. And largely it's due to like habitat loss. There are a number of factors, but habitat loss and, you know, losing plants that they depend on for their food, and places where they could nest and like hibernate over the winter. And it was just kind of eye-opening. So I figure I'll try to do my part wherever I can. So while I was out here and already getting myself a muddy mess, I went ahead and planted the other 2 oak leaf hydrangeas there. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can't tell from this angle, but they're pretty evenly spaced. They're about 4 feet apart. So hopefully, like, they'll grow up big and kind of fill in this whole area and hide kind of the bottom of the house there, the concrete, which is not real attractive. And of course, I'll have to move all the junk out over there. But I also wanted to show you a couple of things going on with the veggies. I've got in my first raised bed here, this one's falling apart, radishes coming up, and then over on this side are beets. And my onions, all in bed number 2. They're still kind of thin and small, but they're going to take a long time to reach maturity. And my chives are starting to, they've got some flower buds. The ones over here are already starting to open up. That's pretty. Those are going to be pretty flowers. And then in these grow bags, onions and leeks. I haven't peeked in at my potatoes yet. I'm kind of scared. I don't have too high of hopes because I think I did not give them good growing conditions. But that could be something there. And then although, does that look like a potato leaf? I've only grown them one other time. It was a couple years ago, so I'm not sure. To me, over here, this looks like more of what I would. These are potatoes for sure. So that's a good sign. I've got some coming up there and there. I was feeling like that the soil was too heavy. So here's more. So this is encouraging. And I guess that is a potato. That's kind of what that other one looked like. Reminded me of a basil leaf. I'd forgotten that they need like loose sandy soil, or even planting them in straw, or when I grew them the first time, I planted them in shredded leaves and they did pretty good. And by the time I realized my mistake on all of these potatoes planted in these grow bags full of heavy soil and got to these 4 grow bags, I realized, like, I remembered. So in here, I've got the bottom half of the bag is full of soil. Then I put the potato starts, and then I just covered it with shredded leaves. So it'll be kind of a fun little experiment to see how they all do. I don't see anything coming up on these, but these were planted quite a bit later than all of the ones over there. But I'm encouraged to see sprouts. I mean, I think that's a real good sign. A lot of the bags have, you know, have sprouts coming up. And thinking back, I'm pretty sure these were the 2 first rows I did, if I remember right. Then I did these, then these. So I guess it kind of does make sense. We'll see how it goes. And I think that's pretty much all I have to share with you guys today out in the garden. Our weather is supposed to start really warming up in the next week or 2, and then veggie planting will really ramp up. So I'll be sure and share that with you guys. But I'll be back next week to let you know what I work on in the coming week. Hope your garden's growing great, and I'll talk to you later.